Hey guys, Level Cap here. Today I've got some Insurgency Sandstorm beta gameplay, and you can get into this beta and play it today if you have pre-ordered the game. I'm really excited to get into the details and tell you more about this, but first, let's just check out the visuals and listen to the audio of this game.
Have the mortars blow it up!
Everyone is starting mortar strike on this location!
Okay, alarm's going out.
Hey, we're here! Where is everyone?
Casualty! Casualty! We have fired all of our rounds. Good luck. New magazine going in! Out! Out! Run Reloading! Reloading!
So this is just one of the many environments that will be playable with the game and in the beta. This one featured a lot of close quarter urban combat. It was a lot of fun and totally crazy. The atmospherics, the sound effects, there's just a level of realism present here that I don't feel with other games. Or I should say authenticity, really. The feeling of an authentic world, authentic mortar sounds, authentic helicopter sounds, authentic weapon and RPG sounds, hearing sounds in the distance and the correct muffling of those sounds if they're indoors or outdoors. It just sounded incredibly real. Visually, the game is also quite impressive. On the latest Unreal Engine, the weapon models are unparalleled. They look great. The weapon model textures and shaders are amazing, and the optic rendering also looks incredible. They repeat the same feature that was available in the source engine, where the magnified optics will only magnify within the optic and the rest of the world will be unmagnified. This effect is not common in other multiplayer shooters because essentially you're rendering the multiplayer world twice, and this time around, since we're on the Unreal Engine and it's a bit more CPU and GPU intensive, the developers have given you the option to turn off this effect. So if you've got a beast computer and you can handle the really cool visuals, then you can leave it on. If your computer's not so good, you can turn it off. Now, for those of you who know nothing about Insurgency Sandstorm, it's a sequel to the original Insurgency multiplayer shooter that was released on Steam, and this game is actually going to come out on console as well in 2019 for console, and it'll be coming out this year on PC. It includes several different game modes called Firefight, Push, Checkpoint, and Skirmish. A lot of them can be equated to more common multiplayer game modes like Domination from, say, Call of Duty or Battlefield, but it changes it up significantly by offering a wave respawn system where waves of new troops sometimes can't spawn in until your team has captured an objective, and you also have a commander and an observer on the team that can work together to call in artillery strikes, call in air reinforcements, all kinds of cool little gadgets and stuff to sort of help enhance your team's ability to push on to the next objective. It's a game that feels equally interested in rewarding both strategy and skill. If you're an incredibly skilled player, you can get on a point and wipe out 5, 6, 7 enemies on your own. However, if you're having a really hard time crossing a big open area or getting through some nasty little choke points, having commanders and observers coordinating artillery strikes or chemical strikes can really help you gain the advantage in a situation. And of course, poorly communicated artillery strikes will result in team kills, so communication is key, and friendly fire and being aware of what your teammates are doing is also very important. New to the Insurgency system is the ability to customize the look of your character, the gender of your character, the voice of your character, hats, gloves, shirts, pants, boots. You can really get into the customization and sort of build a more recognizable profile for yourself. That being said, the devs don't want you to be able to change the look of your character so much that people might have a hard time identifying what team you're on. So if you're playing for security, you can't really go outside of the realm of tan and olive color schemes. If you play for the insurgents, you'll have much more pronounced color options: red, white, yellow, blue, even solid blacks. But still, the idea is to make each team pretty darn recognizable. You shouldn't have to think when you see somebody through a window or a doorway as to what team they're on. Weapon customization with skins is something that the developers have also talked about, not necessarily committed to, but it's something that we could certainly see in the future. I was told, of course, that these again would be highly realistic and nothing too outlandish, so I guess no Hello Kitty pink camo for my M4, unless I can get the developers to make me one as a favor. Now, something that's really cool and that I haven't seen in games for a while is that they've included a gib system. If somebody's actually hit with an explosive round or a giant mortar goes off next to somebody, arms and legs are coming off. And it might catch you off guard the first time you see it, because so many big developers shy away from that kind of stuff these days, as it restricts the audience that will be able to play the game because of gratuitous violence restrictions and stuff like that. But because the devs are really going for that more hardcore, authentic feeling, it means when somebody gets blown up in this game, they get blown up. Now let's get into some of the beta feedback. Obviously, the beta is a work-in-progress version of the game. It doesn't represent the final product, and especially when it comes to things like optimization, some of the final passes that the developers do are right before the game launches. That being said, during the beta at 1440p resolution with a overclocked 8700K CPU and a Titan XP, so basically a beastie computer that can run games like Battlefield 1 at 1440p at over 140 frames per second, I was struggling to get over 80 frames per second sometimes in this game. Often it would bounce up to around 100 FPS, and mind you, I was using a combination of medium and low visual settings here to try and get that, but ultimately I was very underwhelmed with the frame rate I was able to get in this game. That's a little bit concerning, especially considering that the original Insurgency ran on the Source engine and just about any PC could run it really well. The hardcore audience or the hardcore fan base of the original Insurgency game might be put off by the steep performance requirements of this game right now. I would personally expect to be getting 50 to 60 more FPS based on the visual quality, the player count, and the size of the maps that I'm used to with other first-person shooter games. So I think the devs have a lot of room for optimization here. I would expect to see a lot more FPS out of this title, and preferably not just wait for better hardware to come out to run it at a faster FPS. This is the Unreal Engine. It's something that devs have been testing and finicking with forever, so hopefully we can see a lot more FPS by launch. Otherwise, you're probably going to have to play this game on low graphics settings. Which brings me to my next point. There are some elements in this game that look really bad at times. Most of the game looks incredible, except when you start turning some of the visual features a little bit down. The character models start to look really washed out. I feel like the devs could do some basic texture baking to try and get some baked-in shadows on player models so that even people lowering their visual settings don't have to get such poopy looking visuals at times. The quality of the character animations is still not amazing. It feels a bit more on spot than it was when I played in the alpha, but there's still some animations that look really wonky, especially the sliding animations and stuff like that. I could easily see people abusing the janky animations to make it really hard to track you in multiplayer combat. Now, the movement of the game feels pretty quick actually, almost Counter-Strike-y to a certain extent, a bit faster than I would expect from a game going for such a high level of authenticity, and then the aiming down sight speed for most optics is pretty darn slow. So the ADS time and the player movement feels a little bit out of whack. I'm not really sure what speed or pacing the devs are going for here, but I think it needs a little bit more finessing just to make it feel authentic and also competitive at the same time. Now, when it comes to audio, for the most part, the game sounds amazing, but I think they trigger too many VO cues during the game. So if commanders calling in orders or requesting orders, or you're capturing a point, or you've capped a point, or there's guys on the point, or whatever, there's so many call outs in game that happen automatically. it feels almost relentless and a little bit exhausting, and it does get in the way of tracking enemies. Again, nitpicky feedback, but it's just something that I noticed while playing. Now, I've got enough time into the original Insurgency that I can usually hop into this game and have at least somewhat of an idea of what I'm doing, but I think the biggest challenge that Insurgency has to face is the new player experience. This is a hardcore game. There's very little UI elements to tell you what's going on. The game modes are not always apparent. The wave respawn system is not always apparent. The UI could certainly use a little bit of work. I spent a bit of time in game wondering why I wasn't spawning in and stuff, and then realized I had to go back to a menu and like check a little deploy thing. So there's a few things that could make the new player experience a little bit more inviting, and perhaps maybe some more communication or better intel as to where friendly artillery strikes are going to land. I got killed by friendly artillery strikes along with teammates maybe 5 to 7 different times while playing, possibly more, and I felt like maybe just a little bit better notification on screen that I'm in some sort of dangerous artillery strike zone would help out. Netcode wise, I'd like to look at it in future videos. I was playing across continents, so I had 200 plus ping. Many other players on the server had 200 plus ping, creating a huge amount of latency there, and I just want to look at the netcode a bit further when I can test on American servers. Beyond that though, my beta experience was really great. Just as my alpha experience was also really great. Overall, it left me wanting a lot more. I want to play more. I want to test out more weapons. I want to try different weapon builds. I want to try all the game modes on all the maps and see which ones I like the best. I want to play more with friends and teammates and orchestrate interesting strategies and back people up. There's going to be a lot to do in this game. Playing the beta has solidified Insurgency's position as one of my most anticipated first-person shooters of the year. If I had to guess, I would imagine it's probably not going to launch with the most optimized frame rate in the world. However, New World Interactive has shown an incredible dedication to their community, releasing lots of free content for the original Insurgency without the requirement of buying any new expansions or packs for the game. So as far as devs go and wanting to deliver a high quality product, I have a huge amount of faith in this dev team. We'll just have to wait and see how many optimizations and improvements they can squeeze into the game before its official launch. As always, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll probably have some more Insurgency content in the near future, and I'll see you next time. This is Levelcap signing out.